Okay, so I think it's about time we start. So welcome everyone to the virtual meeting. Thank you for joining this event. We got plenty of incredible speakers and facilitators today. My name is Martin Megusha. I'm secretary at Blockchain Think Tank Slovenia. Before we kick off, I'm just going to be introducing a couple of house rules so we know how things are going to run. For all the participants, you can enter the gallery view with the click on the icon in the top right corner. So there is also an open chat you can use to pose questions and open up a discussion on the site. We will also be recording the session and later on sharing the link to the edited video. And if you have any questions, you can click on the icon and raise your hand. And feel free to indicate your support with claps or thumbs up whenever you want to. Just quickly, the agenda for today. At the beginning, we're going to have a welcoming and introduction to blockchain to the next level event. And it's going to be done by Anja Blaj, who is the president of Blockchain Think Tank Slovenia, and Sasha Kojic, who is the senior director for stations business at Danfoss District Energy. It is going to be then followed by intro and report about the Danfoss blockchain hackathon. It's going to be done by Matea Panjan, who's a customer relation manager at Danfoss District Energy. Then we're also going to have follow-up from Danfoss blockchain hackathon, and a couple of projects are going to be presented by Netis, AmpNet, and Vislor. And at the end, we're also going to entertain an open discussion about the blockchain in the energy sector and collaboration for the future. It's going to be moderated by Milan Jungic, who is a business development manager for Software Suite, also at Danfoss District Energy. That being said, I'm just going to pass the word to Anja and Sasha.
All right, then I'm going to share the screen. There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anja Blaj, and as the president of Blockchain Think Tank Slovenia, I welcome you to our very first virtual meeting hosted in collaboration with Danfoss. So first, let me thank everybody because this organization was an exciting one and a fascinating one. Also bringing people together in times like this, even though digitally we are all tech savvy, but it's good to know that even among the blockchain developers, we don't only have people that are aware of how to build the blocks, but also are familiar with Zoom platform and all the tools that we kind of need to use today. So yeah, before I give the word to Sasha, I'd like to kind of draw your attention towards Blockchain Think Tank, what it is that we do, who we are, and why we even came together. So welcome to the event, Building a Community for District Energy. You're probably all familiar with the beginnings. This chart is very well known. It's all about how Satoshi Nakamoto kind of came up with this paper and presented it online. And then we saw the spike, the first one pretty much in 2013. But even more important chart is probably this one, showing just the Google search trends. And I would like to emphasize that Slovenia was always topping the numbers, like 1, 2, or 3 of the countries where the Google search trends were extreme, per capita, of course. But it was kind of an indicator of how many early adopters we probably have in Slovenia. And this is where the think tank also comes into play. So we are first and foremost a not-for-profit association. We are here for and by our members. There is officially 200 members right now, a bit more, but our reach is even bigger. So you can already see that we have some people on our call coming from across the borders. Welcome all the Croatian neighboring countries and all the Balkan region. Our reach is not only about the members coming from the industry, but we're happy to say that it's also about how we bring together to the same table the regulators and all the rest of the authorities and people with various different backgrounds and expertise. And of course, the ecosystem is by default global, so we just are trying to tap into different networks. And our objectives are pretty much to foster a dialogue between these relevant different stakeholders and to identify what interests we can see on all these different sites and then build the bridges. This is what we do pretty much. We host the events, a lot of meaningful events. Usually we would come and meet each other in person, but so be it, we can do the virtual bridges as well. And then we do allow the community to emerge. We are trying to be as inclusive as possible. Of course, we have some house rules as well. So we are not just, open to whomever. there is some sort of a threshold. And as soon as we identify a very hot topic or any sort of the interest that needs to be explored even further on, we are here to form a working group as well. And through those working groups and through our expertise coming together and through the dialogues that we are here opening, we're trying to really galvanize the grassroots movements and whom not. So again, act local, think global. This is pretty much what we are trying to do. And of course, if you have any good ideas, if you have a vision, if there's a startup or something that needs to be explored further on, it very much starts with the signaling. So how do we get across the information about something that needs to start, and then who needs to be engaged in that conversation? And this is what we do. We do planning, we do the strategy. We try to do our best with bringing the relevant people to the same table, and I think we're pretty good at it. We already have some sort of a strategy for the next year or so. There might be even more events, and at the end of the day, it's all about executing all these events and bringing the community back together. So when we are talking about the execution, it's also about creating an ecosystem that kind of feels safe. So maybe talking about some sort of a sandbox, or at least a safe and compliant environment for everybody. So I welcome you all again, and I hope you're going to be enjoying this discussion. The moderated ones, please pose as many questions as you want, and I hope we're going to have more of these types of events. So Sasha, floor is all yours. You're able to share? Okay.
I'm sharing.
Yes.
Can you see my screen? And also on my behalf, and I picked some of your words, and I think a little bit of history, how this cooperation between Danfoss and Blockchain Think Tank Slovenia started. It was actually, we were, you know, Danfoss is very much globally engaged, and then we were thinking, how could we do something for the local community? So this think global, act local is very much spot on what we are after here, what we want to achieve. So, and this is also an ambition that we create a community, community district energy. And what on earth has district energy to do with blockchain? Some might ask, and this is just, I would say, an introduction that we would like to share with you how district energy actually is embedded in all areas of our lives, and also in many of the mega trends which you can see here I'm sharing. So one of them is definitely digitalization, then electrification as one of the, I would say, emerging, not emerging, but overwhelming trend, I would say now. Then you can see that urbanization, we can see these mega cities and are basically growing, and look at growing. So there's different needs related to these mega trends. Also climate change, in a very recent outbreak of the virus, we can see there's also some interconnection and correlation with these two. I would say the only thing where district energy is not really closely connected to is the food supply. But if you would really scratch our head and push really hard and think hard, then we will see that basically it's also district cooling that has some kind of impact on the food supply. So these all mega trends are transforming our world. And why district energy? Because district energy is something that we believe is the most sustainable approach for mitigation of climate changes. And it is basically improving efficiency by providing optimization solution, optimal temperature control. And this sounds a little bit maybe long, but it is actually a mission and a vision at the same time we believe in Danfoss. And it is basically the drive that we share in a team. So a little bit of history again. So to see how the district energy is connected to other sectors. So if you take a look at this evolution of different generation of district energy, so starting in, I would say, end of 19th century, that is basically it's the first district heating network, which is still existing today. It's in the New York City. So there you can see it was pure coal and steam based, and it was heating only. But nevertheless, I would say a few decades then after this first generation, you could already see there is a heating plant which is also accompanied by the cogeneration plant, which is also producing power. So as these generations are evolving, and now we are talking about third and fourth generation, and we are thinking ahead of fifth generation. Now in fourth generation, you can see that the system is fully decentralized. Now the sources of the district energy, this is cooling, heating, power, this is really decentralized, and it comes from different sources. And what they have in common is that we all strive to achieve fully decarbonized district energy, and sources are renewable energy. So if we move forward to the recent updates, we can see now basically the implications of the current situation. We can see that the European Union and the member states are committed to the recovery plans. Now, what is coming top down from European Union is the 750 billion euros budget that will actually support recovery in three pillars of the green package. And this will be looking into green, it will look into digital, and it will look into resilient Europe. And this all, I would say, supporting pillars, they will support also generating new jobs, and it will also have a longer impact on the horizon of the European Union. And that's another example from Germany, coming from Germany, where you can see on the left-hand side, there was in the beginning was a lot of I would say coal-based and fossil fuel used, and now in district energy in Germany, the future is that at least 70% of district energy will come from district heating, meaning renewable energy sources, and it will be all interconnected with the cooling and power. So if I just update you with a few examples which we can see in Danfoss, and where the digitalization and resilience plays a major role, I will just give you an update on a couple of cases. First one is Gießen in Germany. This is somehow in the heart of Germany, where the challenge was how to actually operate the network efficiently. And the other challenge was that there are multi-sources, because with the increase of renewable energy sources, you actually need to integrate more and more sources. And this was a challenge for the utility, and how to operate this kind of, I would say, complex system. Then there is a solution which comes from the digitalization. So another example, or examples, I would say, it's coming from Vattenfall, one of the biggest professional run utility in the world, based in Sweden. So Vattenfall was the owner of the Hamburg district heating, but then it was actually the city that bought back the district energy network, and now it's running on its own. And in Berlin, Vattenfall is still existing. So for the both district energy networks, the challenge was how to run the network more efficiently, how to actually manage the peaks that occurs in the energy sector, and how also to manage the multi-sources. So again, the solution was digitalization, and the solution were spot on what actually the customers needed. So then another case, I would say, and this is the recent one, you maybe are familiar with the data center of Facebook that was built in Odense in Denmark. So what Facebook was looking into, how to become more green, how to promote this green energy. So you can imagine, and you know how much energy waste heat is actually generated by all these data centers. So there was an idea to retrofit this waste heat and put it back into the network. So this waste heat could be utilized for the heating of the homes of the Odense in Denmark. So this is another example of how basically the different sectors can be integrated together if there is a district energy infrastructure and also political will to achieve this. So coming closer to the blockchain, and also coming closer to the blockchain use cases that we'll hear after this, we can also be inspired by some of the projects that are run by Research Institute of Energy in Munich. And what this project have in common is they're also looking into many different use cases of blockchain, which blockchain can support in energy sector. And it is also very interesting that the German government is fully behind this and is funding many of these projects. So we're looking forward to see the outcome of these research projects. And the last one is somehow yes, blockchain has definitely a potential. We are talking about decentralized district energy, decentralized sources. So you can also see the potential of blockchain is in providing a security. It's also something that that is providing a decentralized platform. And then on the other hand, there's also challenges that we need to address, and I hope we will address some of them today in the panel discussion, but also by some of the use cases. So what kind of regulation framework do we have if you want to actually move closer, not only into the blockchain, into the energy sector, but also there's a regulatory framework challenge if you want to, for instance, integrate energy across district energy, so power to heat, heat to power, or heat and cooling marketplace. So with that said, I would really say that I'm very happy to be part of this, and looking forward to the use cases that will be presented, and further on with looking forward to the discussion with all of you. Thank you.
I think that now Mateo will be taking over with the intro and report about the Danfoss blockchain hackathon.
Yeah, I'm just finding the way how to share the screen. Here I have some difficulties again with not showing me the presentation. Guys, do you have a backup for me?
I think we might. Let's see. Perhaps I can share your presentation and you just go along with me sharing the screen.
Yeah, well, but it doesn't allow me to share the presentation.
Yeah,
it was the same as yesterday.
Anya will share the screen, and yeah.
Just give me a second so that it opens.
Yeah, sorry for this.
No worries. All right.
Or here I go. Maybe I can do it like this. Let me know if you see it.
Yeah, we now see it. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Then I'm glad. So, hello also from my side. My name is Matea, coming from Danfoss. I will just put this to presentation mode. And I would like to start with hackathons, or one specific hackathon on blockchain we did together with Blockchain Think Tank. Hackathons are the fastest way to explore challenges we face in industry, and in certain this VUCA world, it's so important that we explore what we can do more with the collaboration with external partners, and to increase in volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity means that our business must seek new orientations and fresh approaches to the management, and that's why also this blockchain hackathon together with Think Tank. And there is a special thought behind that, and one of them is also from our president, is that by 2024 we will be out of the business if we cannot provide a solution for utility networks that needs to be able to reuse and sell surplus heat. And that's why it's another opportunity and another reason that we wanted to go and explore these opportunities within trading platforms across energy sectors and district energy. And we said in the beginning that we want to explore platforms that should use the blockchain in some way and have a possibility to support trading of heating, cooling, power, and gas on a city municipality level. So these were our basic that we actually started working and decided to go to the blockchain. So back in December last year, we did a public call to all European or most other, again, with a think tank, with the help of think tank. And the goal of this project was to select the companies that will carry out pilot project together with us as Danfoss, and to evaluate the possibilities for collaboration, partnership with this global company, so with Danfoss. We selected 5 companies, and I'm so glad to see among us today 3 of them. And all these 5 companies actually came from this area of district energy, of the energy sector. And then in February 6th and 7th, we did 24 idea blockchain hackathon with the support of district energy experts and our mentors. We really had a great time together. So this was really 2 days of intensive work, solving challenges on, especially around sector coupling, as mentioned before, and energy efficiency. And it's also a good approach because these external companies gave us really great insight. So outside in how they work in the blockchain, and also it gives us a learning how we can solve certain problems and these very complex problems in really fast way. So it was really nice opportunity to explore this. We have also the winning team that is not today with us, but we are already developing the pilot with them, and we will introduce some of the insights what we are doing with this company in the next meetups. And maybe Anya, if you can now just turn on this video, so we can also hear our president, Miha Bobic, what he gained from this blockchain hackathon.
You can see the screen. Yeah. I just need a confirmation. Can you see the screen?
Well, yes, I don't.
Yes, yes we can.
Yes.
Okay. Let's hear it out.
Okay, now I do. Go for it.
Sector coupling between heating and electricity sector is very hot topic right now. It's also on the agenda of European Commission. Therefore, we actually decided to do something about it. And what is really missing as a product range is how the trade between different users, consumers would actually happen. This is why we organized this hackathon, where in every hackathon is like a box of chocolate cakes, and you never know which one's the best, but there's always one which is very good. So this is what we actually choose in this hackathon, was a solution which is really coupling electricity and heat sector, and providing the users with experience of selling and buying without any interference of humans, and therefore automizing the whole process.
Wait, Matea, you're muted?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you, Miha, like you are with us. Now I'll again share my screen to go just to a last slide. Do you see it?
All good?
Yes.
Yeah. All good. Super. Oh. Sorry.
No worries, take your time.
So this should be a last slide. Now you see this big ice break, do you?
Yep, very familiar.
Yeah. Well, with this last slide, I just wanted to say from our side, from Danfoss side, that the business model is the system that connects somehow sensing customer needs, engaging with all these needs, delivering satisfaction and monetizing the value, and how important is that business model is also very strong connected with the product and technology. And that's why this exploring the area of blockchain is so important for us, and it was really actually a good approach of exploring the area. So with this, I would like to finish my presentation, and we will go now deep dive into also our partners and our hackathons partners. They will share their ideas and their thoughts about doing hackathon with us. So thank you.
Do we have any volunteers who wants to go first? Maybe we could start with Netis.
Yeah, we can do it.
The floor is yours.
Right, thank you. Let me just share the screen. So do you see the screen?
Looks good.
All right. Okay, so hello also from my side. My name is Klemen and I'm CTO in Netis. So today I will present you first the idea that our group came up at this event, at the hackathon, and then continue with how it fits to our traditional ongoing operations that we do at Netis. So what we pitched and what we came up with, that we can enable a smooth transition from the needs of today that can be solved by blockchain, but where blockchain is not really needed, to the future when blockchain will play a significant role in the peer-to-peer communication. Or to rephrase the idea, let's set the blockchain today to your operation when it's not really needed, and then be prepared in the future where you won't be able to prosper without the blockchain. So how would this transition look like? We sort of came up with, let's say, 3 big phases, and let's say we should start with something that is relatively easy to implement from technology point of view, and also that there are no legal barriers. And for this purpose, we propose some sort of incentivization scheme that would be governed by smart contracts and blockchain. And with that, we could start onboarding the first, let's say, end users, and also the utility factors, the manufacturers, and other producers in the system. Then in next stage, we could move to, let's say, to the part where we actually have the technology solution sorted today, but there are some, let's say, legal barriers, such as for the purpose of, let's say, public tenders. And during this stage, we would also onboard some other legal entities, such as municipalities and, let's say, government. Then, in the third phase, in the future, when the number of sources will increase, we will already have infrastructure and community ready to actually start power management or this trading with some to some established peer-to-peer blockchain platform. So who will benefit from this platform? As I said, basically every stakeholder that are already involved today. Some of them will be added at the beginning, some of them will join later on, but yeah, here are, let's say, all the relevant actors that would be involved and that would also benefit from the setup of this sort of trading platform. So also this hackathon, we came up with the idea how to actually start this process. So how to start with stage 1. As I said, there are 3 stages. We can get here the idea for stage 1, how to start with it. And here there will be some, let's say, some incentives that the utilities companies could offer to the end users for, let's say, exchange for some benefits. For instance, they could start to incentivize them to reduce the return temperature, and if the users did that, the utilities could, let's say, make really great savings on the yearly basis. As here is the example for, let's say, Berlin municipality, there could be savings in millions. And for exchange, they would, for instance, offer the end users some reduced bill or something like this. So how would or where will here the blockchain come in, we would prepare some sort of platform where the main building block would be some smart contracts. And in these smart contracts, the utilities would be able to set up some incentive conditions that every consumer would be able to read and to apply. After the consumer applies to it, he or they also need some smart device at home that reports to the same smart contract. And whenever these incentive conditions are met, the user gets some, let's say, reimbursement or some other reward. But the inclusion of all the members doesn't actually end here, because parallel to that, we could also establish some sort of marketplace, because in many cases, if consumer actually wanted to satisfy the conditions, he would need to, let's say, upgrade their equipment or their, let's say, their behavior. And for that, they would need to, let's say, some investment in some equipment. So at first, they would need to buy some of the equipment that would be got from the marketplace. But maybe even more important, because users are not all, let's say, technology enabled, they would also have the ability to connect, to actually get the installers or producers to do it for them. And this marketplace, the idea is that we have at one point all the producers, all the demand, all the supply. Then maybe how this platform then generates some, let's say, revenues. One would be, let's say, from direct subscriptions to use the platform. This doesn't really go to the end user because they won't be paying it, but mainly for the legal entities. Then one of the part for the revenue would be through the transaction commission in this marketplace, and also one really important aspect also for all the data analytics that platform could capture. And additionally, there could be some cost reduction from the whole system that could also be beneficial for all of the involved parties. Okay, there was a timeline for the pilot, but it's not so relevant today. So I would then go forward to how to actually enable this with the framework and the solution that we already have in place, and that can enable all the, let's say, that idea that presented so far. First thing, really important, we have in our ACE block framework 3 really major building blocks, starting with ACE ID. This is self-sovereign identity that can be attached to all the, let's say, all the players in the system, let it be the end users, let it be the companies, or even the devices. Because this is then crucial that we enable all the actions in the system, and also all the communication peer-to-peer, maybe exchange, the trading, whatever comes with it. Then another aspect that we also provide is then the storage solution called the ACE space. That would be then relevant for all the data that is produced by these smart meters. Because today, if we know that the number of devices will increase really rapidly, there might be some problem where to store all the data that is produced, but we have a solution that actually utilize all devices, all the partners in the whole system to actually store the data and retrieve it directly from the devices. And at the end, we also have a solution directly tailored for ACE IoT, which encapsulated both of these, let's say, building blocks that I presented before, and it's tailored directly to be lightweighted for IoT devices that they can use it right away. So now this is the, let's say, the description what we did at the hackathon, what we do in our normal operation, and now also the Sebastian will tell you a little bit more how we are already involved in the use cases for the energy sector.
Okay, thank you. So as Clement explained, what we do with the building blocks which Clement presented, we try to create a secure and environment for secure and private exchange of data between the energy entities, and in a way, as Sasha mentioned before, we are aware that the whole ecosystem and energetic ecosystem is becoming decentralized. So we are in a way preparing the grid and all the components of the grid to the future. So we as we researched and as we are aware, it can bring specific benefits to all the key entities, whether they are consumers to consumers or TSOs or DSOs, for the suppliers, for all the IoT vendors. Here is the district heating systems can also have benefits, and also to more general entity in terms of states and regulations. It can boost the green and just to show you again what in more detail. So it's the framework. The framework is the private blockchain capability with SSI identity and distributed storage, and all the APIs related to this kind of communication. And let me just finish with our team. So yeah, we are using for all the different projects, we're using our proprietary blockchain framework, which is Ethereum-based private blockchain. We're very proud that we cooperate with the European Commission on the EFSI project, and all the building blocks that you saw are already being used and piloted for the GenAI and other projects. So this would be all from our side.
Thank you very much for your presentation. If there are any questions on the floor right now, this is the time for them. I guess there are none. There will also be time later on in the discussion if any questions pop up later on.
Yes.
Okay, so we can entertain the next project. We can maybe continue with AmpNet.
Hello. Give me 1 second to share my screen. Firefox. Okay, you should see it now. Excellent. Okay, let's just go into presenting mode. Just to kind of prepare you all for this, we haven't been really working much on this since the hackathon, so I'll be working with what I can remember from this, but I'll give a bit of an introduction on what we were doing in the energy space and how I think lessons learned there could be incorporated into district energy and district heating, specifically into the interplay of district heating and renewable electricity, which I think from the hackathon it was quite obvious that it's a very, very interesting symbiosis, I would say, of those two things. So our assumption there at the hackathon was that the systems for district heating were oversized, very clunky due to the need to have an excess of energy available in the system at all times to cover everything, from the most closest consumers to the furthest consumers. And this, of course, is true for any large system. This is true for electricity. This is true for, gas supplies. Everything is basically over-dimensioned because it has to be like that. So if we can make a reduction in this, the amount of over-dimension needed, I think there could be great savings made there. What we realized was that the consumption chart, just the same with renewable electricity, has very significant peaks. The peaks are at 8 a.m. and at 6:30 p.m. This is, when people are showering to go to work, and then when they come back from work, they use the hot water for various things. We noticed in renewable energy, the charts look quite similar, I'd say. So this is the duck curve, the infamous duck curve of how renewable electricity is generated. So the electricity is basically over-generated between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. So if we could use some of this renewable energy that's over-generated to prepare the district heating system for the 4 p.m. burst in activity, we could potentially get the heating done at a very, very low price of electricity, because when the electricity is over-generated, its price goes down significantly. This could incur significant savings for the Danfoss solution. So our solution is basically rewards for off-peak spending. You know, you gather certain tokens or whatever would be if you are spending in off-peak times. This is obviously not adaptable to individual persons, but to certain businesses this might be interesting. So, you know, you earn tokens if you consume when demand is low, you spend tokens if you consume when demand is high. The other part of the story would be the interplay of renewable energy and the district heating systems. We would like to use the solar capacities installed in our cities to heat tanks of water, to give them, you know, a large storage of energy, so that we can store a large amount of electricity as heat and then distribute it later either through district heating systems or by converting it back into electricity in some fashion.
Just to shortly kind of interrupt, we are still seeing the first slide. Is that correct?
No, I've done maybe 15 slides so far.
All right, because I heard you saying duck, and I can see the duck in the 5th slide, but we were stuck in the first one.
Yeah, you are probably sharing the wrong screen, Misla.
Now?
Now it's moving, yeah. Yes.
Okay, so it's already mentioned. These are the consumption charts. This is the duck curve. You know, and I started presenting. I think that's what made it go bad. So basically, our solution, as I said, is rewards for off-peak spending. We are trying to do consuming when demand is low and consuming when demand is high to earn and spend tokens. When there is too much sun shining on our shiny new solar panels, we use them to heat up pools of water to store electricity. When it's reverse, we use this electricity to either use in district heating or to maybe convert it back into electricity. We want to use these tokens for various things, you know, either it's rewards for ESCO financing of new renewable energy. This would be potentially very useful for the AmpNet, our core business model, which is financing of small and medium scale renewable energy installations. So our idea would be, you know, use these tokens to earn some tokens, which to earn some credits, which then a large ESCO company can use to finance a solar on your roof, which then can be again put into use to help district heating systems. And this creates a positive feedback loop where, you know, with each iteration of the loop, it becomes much, much more profitable and interesting to earn these tokens. As I mentioned, you know, our idea is to use the excess heating of excess electricity of solar to heat up district heating tanks to store electricity, and then to bring it back into the industry, you know, when they need district heating the most. The idea would be, you know, have a Danfoss as a service provider, have the utility serve as somebody to buy and sell electricity, have the consumer install solar electricity and install a tank of water storage. And this is all, of course, aimed at large scale consumers, not at individuals, but at companies, big manufacturing customers. Our business model would be, you know, software licensing. We would develop this, put it out for free. But if you want to use our software, which helps you to basically use it in much more user-friendly way, then you would pay us a license. You could, of course, develop your own version of the software, but it would be much more profitable to you to pay us the licensing fee. And yeah, the model would be business to customer. Danfoss would sell it to the utility, who would then sell it to their customers. Pilot project, find an industry heavy district, install a heat storage unit, deploy blockchain app, start price negotiations, check results after 3 months, and try to scale it into something bigger. Why AmpNet? We have been doing this exact same thing, but in renewable energy for 2 years now. We have been successfully, you know, fundraising, working with clients, starting our blockchain applications. We have a team, and we are now expanding to a team of 15 people, you know, so we are at a very growing stage in our company. So I think it would be very, very good to choose us as the team to do such a project, pilot project, because we do have results which we can back up our competencies by. And as I said, this is our current team, but very soon we will be 15 people strong. And at that point, I think we become a much more serious contender for this. So yeah, any questions if you have, feel free.
Yeah, I think people are not talkative today. Maybe later.
Yeah, sure.
Congratulations on your success, by the way. I see you're growing quite nicely.
Yeah.
Seeing there is no questions, we can then move on with the next presentation, I guess.
Okay, so it's time for Vizlor.
Yeah. Floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Let me just. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
So, hi everyone, I'm Milenko Tosic from Vizlor Labs. We come from Serbia, and we are developing our solution called Chain Rider, which is a blockchain as a service platform on which we build different kinds of blockchain projects, including ones in the energy domain. So, what is the main logic behind our solution? So, having a blockchain team is not affordable for most of the companies, and the companies who want to explore applicability of blockchain technologies in their business model and for advancing their technologies often don't have resources and don't have necessary expertise in their teams to do that efficiently. So, also application of blockchain technologies in many domains is still in its infancy. So there are no well-known best practices, experimental results, real pilot deployments, and validation results on which companies can draw experiences and decide how to track their progression and application of the blockchain technologies. So what we think that at this stage, it is really important to be able to quickly and efficiently test different configurations of different kinds of blockchain networks, smart contracts, and their organization, so that you can basically build new networks, tear them down, validate, analyze, go back in as efficiently as possible in order to pinpoint a solution that works best for you. And this is enabled by our blockchain, private permission blockchain as a service solution called Chain Rider. And you can visit it on chainrider.io and what it gives. So basically, with this tool, your existing IT team can become a blockchain engineering team really quickly. And then you can start building new blockchain projects, configure networks, configure the ecosystems, deploy business model, evolve business models in fast and efficient ways. So basically, in order to set up and test different configurations of a networks, you don't need like a couple of weeks. You can do it in a couple of minutes. And yes, we have a lot of educational materials which can guide teams to really become a true blockchain engineering team. We have a lot of options and, let's say, best options for integrating with the legacy systems through REST APIs. So all your applications, all your web services, backend services can directly integrate with the networks built based on the Chain Rider solution. And at the moment, the Chain Rider solution is applied across many sectors. So we have the projects and proved products in finance sector, within where those are some research projects or more commercial projects with specific clients. We have some projects also in the energy sector, the major one being the Interconnect project, for which we are going to dedicate a couple of slides again. And there are also a couple of projects in different kinds of domains regarding the logistics, regarding the supply chains. So we have finished a large European project where we were building a trust management platform for analyzing food quality and safety, and the results were written on the blockchain so that different participants in complex food supply chains can get the same results regarding how the quality or safety of the food is measured across different points in the supply chain. So here you can see just a basic interface or the basic overview of the interface of the Chain Rider platform. So there's a lot of functionalities. You can configure the complete network. You can choose where to deploy it on offered public cloud or cloud providers of your choice. You have the blockchain explorer to see where things are going, how the blocks are written, and basically have the solution up and running in a couple of minutes and start writing things and integrating through the APIs. So going to the Interconnect project, this is our main experience in the energy domain. Basically, we are part of this really large innovation action project funded by the European Commission, and we have one of the main roles in the project, since we are work package leader for the interoperability framework. So basically this project is all about interoperability between different IoT systems in smart buildings, but those are commercial, residential, public buildings, community smart cities, and finally smart grid or the energy sector. So there's 56 partners, and the solutions developed in this project are going to be demonstrated in 7 large-scale pilots in Portugal, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Greece, Germany, and Italy. And again, our solution, Chain Rider, is going to be utilized for building trust management platform for identity management, and also building peer-to-peer energy marketplaces, but not just energy marketplaces, but any kinds of peer-to-peer marketplaces that might be necessary for realizing the use cases focused on community building and community participation. So I'll skip this slide and go to the concept of the Interconnect peer-to-peer energy marketplace. So yes, this is not district energy, but basically the logic of the blockchain enabler can be more or less the same. Where we start from. So this marketplace has 2 main levels. One level being, or the layer being the blockchain enabled trust management platform with the shared ledger or combination of private permission blockchains, where stakeholders participating in these communities or wider market can write their trusted data. And the Interconnect project is attacking the interoperability, not just from the perspective of business models of blockchain and so on, but going step down and enabling the semantic interoperability on the technical level, so that each system that is providing the information about the energy consumption of the white goods, for example, of the energy production of renewable sources, of flexibility resources, parameters from the electric mobility domain, parameters from the electric storage domain, and smart meters, everything is, let's say, following the same semantical logic, so that each system coming from within the project or outside the project, if it understands the same ontology, it can understand all the measurements. So this is the basis on top of which we can build the trust management platform and start writing these unifying data, unifying meaning in the blockchain. And the blockchain, really, our plan is to develop blockchain per pilot, blockchain per community, and also a couple of blockchains for the whole project where the information can be written and we can configure and manage and test different kinds of granularity with respect to what information is written there. And on top of this, we are going to build the peer-to-peer marketplace. So we're building it right now by configuring the all the templates for possible transaction needs. So there are 56 use cases defined in the project right now, 12 of which are focusing solely on community building, on community data share, exchange, and basically improving the energy efficiency collectively within the communities. And we are defining the smart contract templates which will represent different kinds of orders for selling surplus energy, for buying the energy from different sources, for buying the energy of different flavor, for aggregating the flexibility resources, and so on. And since the project consortium is definitely going to work on enabling this transactive grid that can support this kind of energy sharing, buying, and trading in general. This kind of peer-to-peer marketplace can also, let's say, work not just for the energy, but for any kind of data. So there's a big focus on collecting and aggregating the flexibility related data coming from the different kinds of consumers, presumers, and so on, so that platforms like flexibility management platforms and aggregator, virtual aggregator platforms can operate on top of that. So this is basically what we are actively doing right now, and this enabling layer of blockchain is going to be based on the chain rider solution. So what did we talk about during the Danfoss hackathon earlier this year? We were presenting a solution. So basically, while selecting a solution, we discussed and brainstormed a lot of possible approaches. One of them was basically focusing on this interoperability, but interoperability between the energy domains, so district energy and smart grid domain, where we started thinking about a concept of cross-utility energy efficiency tokens. So if you are efficient with your heating energy, you can be also efficient. Sorry? Okay. If you are efficient with your with your heating energy consumption, you can maybe spend more on electric energy and so on. So, but during the coaching sessions, we have, let's say, specified this energy efficiency incentivization platform by focusing only on the district energy. And we have identified three main stakeholders, but basically with generating these incentive tokens and creating this market for the tokens, basically each participant in this market or each end user can be a separate stakeholder. So there's a lot of distribution, a lot of trust to be managed. And basically we have the district energy utility provider with their own pain points, which they want to address with the energy efficiency. So basically energy peak demand shaving and some obligations or regulations regarding the certain levels of energy efficiency. We have the end users who want to, of course, always lower their bills and also make their community more green and being able to use their efficiency or to capitalize on their efficiency to improve the for the community well-being. And we have also included ESCOs. So basically they can, with this type of incentivization platform, they would be engaged to support less, let's say, from the current standpoint, less lucrative energy efficiency projects or small scale projects, to be more precise. This is some overview of the dashboard that we were talking about, but under the hood, we would use blockchain to tokenize energy origin, so basically provenance of the energy, where it is coming from. And also we would introduce a concept of loyalty tokens, which award consumers for achieved energy efficiency. Incentive, so basic policies based on and supported by smart contracts would be used to support these kinds of programs. And this is where different kinds of different approaches from business model perspective can be implemented. And okay, this is our team. I think that we have already introduced ourselves in Slovenia, but there's just a short video showing the network that we have deployed using Chain Rider for this energy efficiency solution presented. So let me know if you don't hear the audio.
Let's take a look at the energy incentivization blockchain network.
Can you hear it?
We can
Yeah,
hear
we
it.
can hear the audio, but we can't see the video.
You can see the video. Okay, sorry.
You might want to restart the show.
Yes. Sharing the screen. Let me just find a way to share the whole screen.
Or maybe just restart it. Start sharing again and then just choose.
Yeah. Okay. You should be able to see everything I'm doing right now.
Let's take a look at the energy
Can you see the screen, the video?
We still don't see it.
incentivization blockchain network on
This one?
No, we can't see the video. Now we just see the folder.
How about
Chain Rider marketplace.
Nope.
Keep the video open, stop sharing the screen, and then when you reshare, choose the video as the thing you're sharing.
It's not showing.
Usually that's how it works usually.
Can you see it now?
You can see the network is described here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Enjoy.
And then by clicking the detailed view, motivation and workflow are described here. On the right side, you can see which smart contracts, which are also available on the Chain Rider platform, go with this network template. To deploy the network, first we add the network to our drafts on Chain Rider. We click on Edit, and we can edit the network template to our needs. Once we are happy with the network, we generate the network configuration. Next, we're going to deploy the network to a cloud provider through Chain Rider. We will choose Google Cloud and any of the locations. As you can see, the network has been deployed. We can view this deployment and visit the Blockchain Explorer tool. Here we can see information about blocks, transactions, nodes, chain codes, and many other information regarding the deployed network.
So that was the video, and basically the conclusion is that yes, we are active in the energy domain through the Interconnect project, but we bring the tool Chain Rider, which can really be used for fast prototyping, for fast development and validation, which is, in our opinion, definitely what the energy domain is needing. So there are still no best practice approaches which are validated through a couple of years of operation, but there's still a lot of trial and error, and we want to streamline this process and expedite everything. So thanks for the attention.
Thank you for your presentation. I think we had a question from Anya. And it goes, what are the elements you evaluate when choosing which blockchain you will operate with? Because it was previously seen that you're using Hyperledger Fabric. So what are the factors you consider when choosing?
Yes, Hyperledger Fabric is private permission blockchain. So the chain rider is basically allowing you to configure different networks using the Hyperledger Fabric. And it also allows you to interface with public blockchains, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Dash, or some other cryptocurrency, for example, maybe not supported at the moment, but we have support for Dash and for Bitcoin. Yes.
Cool. So your platform is then based on different Hyperledger solutions.
Hyperledger Fabric is the basis.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing there are none, we'll move on with the agenda. Okay. Next thing we have is an open discussion with all the panelists. And it's gonna be led by Mr. Milan Jungic. So I'm gonna pass the floor to him.
Thank you, Martin. Hello to all from my side, and big thank you for all the presentation. I think we got some really valuable inputs, especially when we talk about blockchain and of course the use cases, and why actually are we discussing about blockchains in district energy and in the energy sector overall. I think one of the questions that we are asking us is why do we need this technology, and what advantages does it bring us? So the biggest question is there actually a need for this kind of decentralized technology that's providing some sort of transparency and also security between all the stakeholders. So if I try to sum up actually some of the conclusions from today's presentation, especially when we talk about district energy and also energy segment overall, we actually see a huge decentralization happening with the inclusion of renewable sources, with the inclusion of waste heat sources. We see systems have a problem with flexibility due to these rigid renewable sources. So basically, we see a big potential for sector coupling, this need for, let's call it, cross sector energy flexibility. We can already see that there are different stakeholders. Yeah, so we kind of need this transparency and security between them. Specifically, when we talk about district energy, also Sasha already mentioned in the beginning, we see a lot of different initiatives and movements happening from this Green Recovery EU plan, from ideas to include more and more waste heat sources into the district energy systems, to allow third-party access to the systems. So really a lot of drivers that could actually support this development of blockchain-driven solutions in this segment. But maybe let's start first with waste heat. You know, in Europe, actually, if we talk about waste heat, and we are talking about the heat that we are basically throwing daily out into the air from supermarkets, from data centers. If we would actually be able to catch all this heat, we would be able to provide heating and cooling for all the residents in Europe. That's a remarkable fact. So my question here would go first to maybe I can start with Sasha. You know, if I try to envision a future city with an district energy network that's totally without some traditional plants or sources, but basically just using waste heat from supermarkets, data centers, basically different commercial businesses providing heat into district energy network. Is blockchain maybe a technology, and of course why, that could actually support this change, or why this kind of change without technology like a blockchain actually couldn't happen?
Thank you, Milan, for the question. If you look, I would say to the time being, so today there was a meeting between European agency and many of the industry partners, one of them being Danfoss, and there was a talk about this recovery plan and the digitalization, resilience, and green package. So where we will invest this, and this will also impact future for sure. And there was common understanding that actually how we can achieve this green, also being part of the recovery, is that we need to increase energy efficiency. This means that we actually do not increase the sources, because the sources and resources are limited in the planet of Earth. It is about using these resources more efficiently. So now imagine that you have all of us, each of us, the industries, but also private users, that we all have certain resources that we are using, and in each of these points, I would say in the big cities, there's a certain surplus of energy created and generated. So if you would find a solution that we would able to integrate this waste and surplus energy back into the network, and it could be reused, then we would actually increase the efficiency by doing that. But then imagine how difficult this would be to manage from the complexity point of view. And this is where I believe that digitalization has a certain advantage for sure, and the blockchain with the advantages which you mentioned, Milan, about the trust among the stakeholders, the participants, but also transparency.
And I guess the functionality like the smart contracts would in this kind of complex system really be helpful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And if we move from the waste heat, then actually to this story of sector coupling. So basically the idea of sector coupling is by interconnecting different systems like district energy and power grids, improve an overall flexibility of the energy systems. So let's say that today in power grids we have issues with flexibility, because let's say if we have wind wind turbines, basically they are generating electricity when the wind is blowing. And we have seen on the markets already in the last year many times actually that we had a really low price of electricity, or it was even negative. We can also think about we had negative oil prices in American on American boats during the COVID crisis. It's actually very similar, because there were surpluses of electricity. So basically the idea of sector coupling is to use this this energy instead of power grids giving it basically for free, or even paying someone to use it, that this electricity would be used for heating at still some acceptable economical price. But the question here, and I will stay for another question with you, Sasha, is if you look at district energy systems today, and we think about sector coupling, do third and a half or maybe fourth generation systems, so basically the majority of systems we would see in the Europe today, already have this capacity and flexibility to serve or to be able to convert this surplus electricity into heat, store it, and then reuse it when there is the need for the heating and cooling? Or do we need still to invest money also on the district energy side to enable this?
Yeah, for sure. All these initiatives and activities will be the funds will be needed to move this. and said there should be a support from all the partners in the industry, but also from the member states and the political will, etc. So, but I think there's a somehow we need to look into this like a transition period where we use some of the different technologies. We know that still batteries are in use, but there's a question then about how easy is this to be then recycled afterwards, and do we create more waste by doing this? But for sure there are existing solutions, and district energy has this ability to actually adapt the surplus from coming from the power market. And it's not only about heating, it's also about cooling and use of heat pumps. There was one example I was showing in the beginning with use of heat pumps. We were actually in the period of very low electricity price, we were able to actually cool down certain areas of the cities. So I would say as of today, the technology is existing. Yes, we can use it, and it is something that it is straightforward. Yeah, but it needs to be supported by the funding, and but also all the regulators and member states.
Thank you. You actually mentioned batteries, and thank you for this. It's an interesting point because we can see basically a lot of investment going into the batteries for storing this surplus electricity. Just a point here, interesting in fact, actually, if you are able to convert electricity to hot water energy, yeah, the storage is basically 10 to 100 times cheaper than a price of the battery per kilowatt hour of or megawatt hour of storage. You know. So this is, I think, also one important point. What we see could be a driver that could enable more economical flexibility of the power grids when basically we are able to connect them with district energy systems. Clement, Sebastian, are you still with us?
Yeah, we are. We needed to unmute.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I move to you two guys. Sebastian, I can maybe start with you. Actually, I'll give you a very open question. I see that in Netis you worked or you still work with Geni, which is basically in this region probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, producer and operator of the power grids. Can you maybe just shortly tell us more about the use cases actually? What kind of use cases are you working on, and why is blockchain in this case relevant?
Okay, I'll try to explain quickly. So there are, in a way, two use cases. One is related to the smart meters, and the other one is related to the mobility. E-mobility is the other one. In both cases, we use the private blockchain, the identities, so the identities of the smart meter, identities of the vehicles or the charging station in the second one, SSI identities for the users of the systems. So yeah, these are two projects which are actively being developed, and now we will see where we end up.
Why is blockchain actually here in this case use cases relevant? Because of the security, transparency, or?
That definitely is the security one thing. It's probably the main thing, but
a sub question. Have you seen any use cases with your work with Geni, or maybe in some other projects that are more directly related to the story of sector coupling, maybe power grids with district energy, or even gas to power to gas, and similar projects? Any experience with that?
I mean, we've seen the non-blockchain projects. We already discussed with you guys before the hackathon. But yeah, in a way, it can be done, because in a way we can connect to the system all different energy IoT devices, not just the power smart meters, but also the smart meters of the heat pumps and all the other, the photovoltaics, charging stations, all different elements of this soon to be the new system, which is going to in a way break the stability of the existing grids. And yeah, it's in a way it is possible, but I haven't seen exactly the power to heat or something like that. But as I see the ecosystem now, it can be done. Yeah.
Why I'm asking, because I remember one customer in District Energy from Germany. We had a visit there, and he was explaining. He said, in Germany we have installed, and this was I think 5 years ago. He said we have installed a lot of wind farms, and now we have all this surplus of this renewable electricity. So there are actually moments where it's very cheap, or even the price is negative. So he said, I will buy a big accumulator and install a heat pump, and I will use this surplus electricity to generate heat cheaply, and then sell it at higher price to the end users. So that guy figured out a business model. I'm sure. I hope that from the other side, somebody else is also thinking about a similar business model. To have it all economically more balanced. But Sebastian, when you were talking your cases, you mentioned private blockchain. How actually, when we talk about private blockchains, how do we actually ensure transparency and security? Are there any rules to, I don't know, numbers of ledgers, and so that we can call this still a decentralized system? Or
yeah, about the transparency, even when you talk about the private blockchains, there is just meant that what is private here is the entities that can actually confirm the transaction, so the validators in the system and the one that append to the blockchain. So the system itself can be still fully open to public in the terms that they can view what is going on, so that transparency can easily be achieved. About the security, then it goes, the relevant point here is how many is the number of, let's say, these validators. So who is actually actively contributing to the confirmation of the transactions, the confirmations of and creation of new blocks. Because as when there is low level of them, or maybe just one, they have full control. They can actually modify the data. They can change the history, and for that purpose, even when we are talking about the private, there is always meant for it to be, let's say, successful and reliable and trustworthy. There should be at least, let's say, 3 or 5 entities in the consortium to enhance this level of trust. Because if they wanted to modify something, they all would need to collaborate. Because if, let's say, 2 of them collaborated, that's not enough to take the system down.
Okay, thank you. And Clement, I will also stay with you. So for our hackathon we had here in Danfoss, the idea that you and your team developed was actually about this loyalty or motivational tariffs, or a loyalty mechanism. So this actually I see also as one of important drivers, especially when we talk about district energy and business to consumer relationships, because one of the weak spots in district heating is actually, and I think Mislav looks like left us, but I still remember when we had started this hackathon, I actually asked Mislav. Mislav comes from Zagreb, from Ampnet. What is his perception of this district heating? Because he said he's connected to the district heating system. and he said, expensive. So this is actually a general impression we can see in Europe, and even more stronger when we talk about Eastern Europe, that the perception of district energy systems is low. They are perceived as inefficient, expensive systems. So basically, here what you showed us, Clement, is basically a way how blockchain technology can also be used to support different loyalty mechanisms, which actually we could see very relevant to a concept of motivational tariffs. So one of the biggest issue in district energy is that efficiency of the primary side is very influenced with the efficiency of the secondary side. And of course, on the secondary side, we have normal residents who wouldn't like to spend money if they don't have to, So you need to motivate them. But did you in your solution wanted to use some specific blockchain technology that supports this kind of loyalty mechanism, something with digital currency, or what was the idea actually? How should the end users be rewarded to stimulate the investments on the secondary side?
Well, it's not that we didn't start with some sort of tokens or something that can be, let's say, traded somehow, or I don't know, that had like direct value. But idea was that this smart contract that governs the incentivization scheme and everything should be as agnostic as it can be. So you as a utility or someone that is, let's say, wanting to motivate the users, set up all the conditions. For instance, you say, if you, I don't know, if you have this kind of habits that will be reported by the devices, you at the end of the month will get, let's say, some discount or something. But then it's not meant that this discount would be transferred to the, let's say, to the users directly with some sort of tokens, but rather that the one that offer this scheme, this motivation, would be notified, and let's say they would redact it from the bills that they would normally send to the user. That was the main idea. Because in this way, we go away from, because it's not then really an asset, it's more like a loyalty point or some sort of thing. So it's easier to implement from, let's say, this financial point of view, because the actual value transfer goes to the traditional channels as well. Still,
yeah. Thank you. That's actually a good starting point, or also maybe for the follow-up questions to Milenko. I hope Milenko is still. Yeah, Milenko, you are also still with us, because basically when we talk about motivational tariff systems and we put us in a position of a utility, a heat distributor, we have two options. Either, for instance, that the goal is to improve the efficiency of the secondary side, So we can tell to the consumers, okay, you need to be efficient, which we measure in some physical units, yeah. For instance, in return temperatures. And if you are successful, you will get a discount, And then actually the other option is that you say, okay, we will measure your parameters and we will actually evaluate what's the potential of the efficiency that can be reached with your installation. And instead of giving you discount, we will come there, install some newer equipment, do some investments to improve of your energy systems. So Milenko, actually what you presented or also mentioned was this Interconnect toolbox platform. That's actually kind of a platform for energy efficiency as a service toolbox.
Yes.
Did you had already any investigations about this platform? You know, with the different stakeholders like utilities, how they could actually use it to improve the efficiency of the secondary side of the heating installations of the home users, for instance?
Yeah. So not from the district energy, but from the electric energy sector, we are, let's say, in favor because of this Interconnect project, and there are some DSOs and different kinds of stakeholders from the energy market domain who are present in the project, and they usually scrutinize the use cases that focus on the end users, because their experience is basically that these incentive solutions can be quite expensive to achieve, especially if there's some new measuring equipment to be deployed, some new platform services to be established, but the return on actual energy efficiency and the costs do not, let's say, justify this kind of investment. But again, to allow end users to, let's say, somehow compete among themselves within the community, within a city or beyond with respect to the energy efficiency, did prove somewhat successful in some of the pilot deployments, for example, in the Netherlands, in Belgium. So this kind of gamification can be quite interesting. So when we talk about the energy efficiency tokens and the loyalty tokens, if you just use them to reduce your energy bill, it's not a good enough incentive. People want to compete. People want to especially in this day and age, they want to be on top. Let's say if you're talking about the energy efficiency, if you're talking about trusted methods to actually measure that and to confirm that a community or an individual consumer is more energy efficient, and that others in this social environment can see that, this is one of the most efficient drivers for the actual end user engagement. So a solution like ours can support this trusted, let's say, layer that the information that are basically generating the tokens, the loyalty tokens, are to be trusted universally. And on top of that, why not establish a new marketplace for exchanging these tokens, accumulating, and for example, the exchange can be just for some community-based services, resources, or something like that. For example, access to electric vehicle charging post at a specific time of the day, and then things like that. If you go into actual fiat-based valorization of the tokens, then there's a new set of constraints, a new set of requirements to be addressed. So usually the goal is to remain within the community and let's say mitigate the need for actual fiat-based valorization of these kinds of tokens. So this is our experience during this first almost 1 year of the Interconnect project. And we are just starting to actually implement some practical things, and the actual pilots in these 7 countries, the large scale pilots will start from January 2021. And we will actually engage the end users and see how different kinds of use cases and solutions that we are providing are going to be received, and what feedback we are going to collect.
Okay. And Milenko, you also had a question in the chat box, I see. So basically you're asking what type of solutions have the biggest potential from Danfoss perspective. So either solutions focused on the district energy operators and other business stakeholders, or solution focused on all end users who need to be incentivized to act more efficiently. Actually, yeah, the answer to this one is quite complex. On the first ball, I would say that it's 0.1. basically solutions focused on district energy operators and all the other stakeholders. Also, when we talk about sector coupling, you know, power grids, waste heat providers, etc. But of course, end users are basically customers of district heating operators, who are our customers, you know. Of course, it's in our interest also to deliver them a solution which they can use basically to offer to their end users to incentivize this better efficiency of the secondary side. So actually the answer is both, you know, to be quite honest. Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, also regarding if you, when you establish, for example, a system for this trusted measurement of the actual achieved energy efficiency end to end, then the loyalty tokens can be generated, but they can also automatically be spent, or you can also be penalized for certain kinds of behavior on the network, especially if you are enabled, let's say, to act differently. So if you are not aware of your consumption, okay, but if you are fully aware of your consumption and informed and choose not to improve your efficiency, so basically the regulatory aspects behind the energy efficiency should also address the actual end users and not just the utility providers.
Of course, and actually the regulation is the next topic. It's still a challenge in this kind of solutions, because at least when we talk about district energy systems, basically the price of the heat that the end users are paying is still very regulated, you know. So basically the flexibility that the utilities have to create or to offer to their end users some kind of incentivize or motivational business models, like motivational tariffs, you know. In many cases, basically this has no support in regulation, so they cannot do it. So it's also one of the big tasks where we as Danfoss, and I think we as all community need to be active actually, is to discuss about these challenges and ensure that in future regulations these kind of solutions are supported and predicted, basically. But maybe also a question to you, Milenko, or maybe also Sebastian and Klemen have some inputs to that. Do you have similar regulation challenges when you with the power grids, this about incentivizing end users?
I mean, in general, I can maybe answer this question of yours. Yeah, in a way, it's similarly, or probably maybe even more regulated. I wouldn't know for sure, but yeah, de facto it is highly regulated. And what I would suggest that, I don't know, you would create, propose in a way some kind of a pilot project and involve the regulator before anything starting, keeping them on board all the time. Like, I don't know, for the electricity, you have the energy agency, you know, as the regulator, and it's great to have them on board. And through this process, doing some piloting, you can come to a specific result that can help you then change the regulation. That's the only way, probably. I mean, you cannot do it. No, you have to obey the regulators. You cannot do nothing by yourself. So that's probably a possibility.
Agree fully. And Sebastian, you had your hand up. Is this the point you wanted to make, or you have any additional?
Yeah, this was the point. Yeah, I immediately, when you posed the question, I said, "Oh, I need to answer this one."
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, but actually, I have exhausted the topics I have. I have one more point, and this is maybe for the two ideators behind this two event. Maybe a question to Sasha and to Anya. Do you have any idea how can we bring these stakeholders together and improve this situation? Anything we discussed lately that we will do?
Well, one thing was for sure, and that is create a list of all the stakeholders. That might be the first step to do. And as soon as we actually have those people on the list, then we can decide who reaches out to whom, and if we can be all together in one room, or do we have to speak separately, or do we again have to kind of experience the breakout rooms in the Zoom call? I mean, we do have these possibilities and functionalities of Zoom calls, but at the same time, I think it might be just enough to really find out who the people are, whether it's support from the media, support from the regulators, who is the really the one authorizing or providing these insights. Get some of these insights and some of the preliminary information from them, and then open up these discussions and more questions. I mean, it's very much on point. If there's no regulation, then usually what happens is that somebody really needs to propose the law or the changes. And usually those changes would be proposed from the industry, unless there is like a very huge incentivization from the state side. Then of course they're going to go for it alone and then just open it up to the society to kind of provide the comments and the feedbacks. But we might as well initiate those conversations beforehand. Let's just see who those people really are. And we have started composing some sort of a list. That's one. Maybe the second one is definitely the working group, right? So who's going to do all the work behind the scenes? Is it going to be a group of people? I believe it's not one-man job. So it might actually be good to compose like a task force or a tiny circle of trust, circle of people that are going to be actively engaging with whomever we want to reach out to, and then composing almost like a document or something, so that we have an overview of what's happening and what needs to happen in the future.
Exactly. I feared you won't get to the working group, but actually it was a teaser question, just to let you lead me to explaining that what we are now doing actually with Blockchain Think Tank Slovenia is that we will start a work group, and we of course would like to involve as much stakeholders in this work group. Also from the regulatory side, Sasha has already tried to establish contacts to regulators like Acer and similar, and basically bring all these people together, work on some use cases like Sebastian mentioned, pilot use cases, deliver a white paper. So this is basically a call to all of you. If you are interested, you are more than welcome. Contact Blockchain Think Tank Slovenia, and you can be part of this work group. You are actually very welcome too. And before we end, one more announcement I need to make, not to forget that, of course, in September, Anya, we are planning to organize a hackathon on this topic. So I think there will still be a lot of announcements about this coming out of BTTS. But just so that you are aware, please don't book your holidays in September. All of you are more than welcome to join us again on this hackathon. It will be actually part of this work group activity and kind of a kickstart to the work that we will then later continue doing in the work group.
Sounds good.
We have it from Sasha. Sasha, do you still have any thoughts on that? I provided all my...
No, I fully support what you said, Anya and Milan. Also, I'm just thinking, just a reflection of all this, and building a community is a start, and just food for thought. If about critical mass of people who can actually make this change and make the effort. So if 3 people can convince 1,000 people, how many people can 1,000 people convince? Just a reflection after this meetup. You don't need to answer me, but just a little bit calculation, you will see. It's a lot of things we can do together.
Exactly. Okay. So I think we have exhausted all topics. So Martin, will you do is Martin still with us? Not?
I'm gonna
Okay.
take care of that.
Okay. So you can do the closing.
Just a quick round. I mean, there's going to be a recording available for everybody. We're going to be publishing it on YouTube as soon as it's edited, as soon as we get it online. We'll be sending the link. Sorry?
No, it's okay.
All right. As long as you don't have any objections, of course. We'll be sending it out through our newsletter. There's also going to be a short report. We'll probably be publishing that on Medium. And if you have any more questions, please just reach out to Milan Jungic, to Sasha, myself. Also Matea is here from Danfoss. So very glad to see you all, and thank you so much for the participation. Hopefully we're going to have more meetups like this in the future.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.